I played Detective Pikachu. Now, that begs the question, should you? Honestly, maybe, so let's talk about it. Following the huge success of the movie based on the niche 3DS game, it only made sense that Nintendo made a sequel for their hugely successful Nintendo Switch console. They only did so like 6 years late, but now that we finally have it, is it good enough to justify that 6-year wait? Well, just looking at it now, the graphics have been compared to that of a PS2 game, and when you look at it side by side with the original 3DS game, we can draw plenty of graphical similarities. So looks-wise, yes, the game definitely isn't great, but hey, maybe it has a good personality. Anyways, what is the story of this game? Well, I made a little bit of a film to illustrate. Pikachu, I've spent years looking for my dad. It's time to stop these side quests and just find him.
Josie, I know he's important, but...
But what, Pikachu? He's my dad.
Get a hold of yourself. We're gonna find your fucking dad after we find who stole this jewel.
It's fucking Duckwell.
No, I don't see an option for that yet, so we're gonna spend at least another hour talking to these lame-ass NPCs.
Well, maybe, Pikachu, I would be a little bit more into this quest if it wasn't so damn slow and it looked at least a little bit better. I mean, it's been 6 years.
Josie, watch yourself.
No, Pikachu. Screw you. I'm finding my dad with or without your help. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that after you piece everything together, which is like not a lot, you are going to know the outcome of this way in advance. You're going to know it way before the rest of the game even catches up to your thought process here. It's going to be like, oh, how do we know that this is the killer or that this one is the one who stole the Pokemon jewel? That's the very first thing. You're trying to figure out who stole this jewel, and that jewel plays into the rest of the game. So this is pretty easily figured out by you, but the game takes like 2 hours. So it moves fairly slow, and you're going to know everything much further in advance than any of the characters do, but that's just sort of part of the game, I guess, and that's part of it. Like, can you suspend that frustration? Are you able to get past that? Because if so, this can be sort of a good game, but if not, and if that kind of stuff frustrates you, and if you want a deep, gripping narrative, or if you want a deep gameplay loop where you're constantly guessing, who done it type deal, you're not going to get that here, unfortunately. It's not really bad the first couple of times, but it can get a little bit tiresome, and then especially because they go so hard with the fact that you need to find the father for the first half of the game, and then you're doing absolutely nothing to make progress towards that, at least in the beginning. It can often make you feel, like how I just expertly acted. The story is charming enough, and the writing is done very well, but like I said, again, you're going to find yourself knowing the outcome of all of these mysteries before the game actually allows you to select that as the outcome. Listen, if you're a kid, this kind of stuff might not be quite as intuitive, so it could be sort of fun that way. So I can see a kid really having a blast with this. Like if you're a parent, your kid loves Pokemon, all things Pokemon, your kid loves mystery and Pokemon, this is the game for them. Obviously, this is the game for the Pokemon fans, and you have to be pretty diehard if you're going to play this one as an adult, in my opinion. But while you're investigating areas, you can also interact and play a ton of different mini-games, which are fantastic and change up the pacing quite a bit. It's fun to walk around, and personally, the idea of an edgy Pikachu that is addicted to coffee sounds pretty fun to me. It makes me wish that we did get a grittier approach to the voice in the movie, and not that I don't love Ryan Reynolds because, he's great and all, but Coffee Pikachu is, one of my favorites. The crux of it is that uncovering these stories often starts out fun, but about halfway through, you're dying to just let the game finally allow you to solve it and select with the option that you need to select before another hour or two passes by. It can get pretty sluggish when you already know what's going on, at least. You're also teased throughout the whole time that you're gonna want to find Tim's dad, but somehow the stolen jewel is so much more important than Tim's literal father and Detective Pikachu's partner missing. It just doesn't seem too realistic here. And obviously I get that Pikachu isn't realistic. I mean, Pokemon as a whole has never thrived off of that. But I do have a hard time suspending belief that, in an anime, finding Tim's dad wouldn't be the center of the story, and it comes into play and all that, but it just takes its sweet, sweet time. And they just talk about it so much for the first part, so, it just gets a little bit, it's lame to me that there's all these other side shit that you have to do, at least in the beginning. The gameplay does keep decently fresh with the inclusion of different mini games throughout, like I alluded to, and you'll have these quick time events like this one where Pikachu's climbing up the tree and you have to mash the button so he stays on. It's not too much, but because of this, the gameplay was fairly engaging, because whenever I found myself really zoning out, I was sort of pulled back with these quick time events. Really, they just serve to keep things fresh and constantly pull you back into the gameplay. So then with the gameplay, even changing it up with the quit time events, it is fairly samey. So honestly, if you can suspend your frustration and not get too quickly annoyed that the game doesn't figure out the mysteries as soon as you do, it could be sort of enjoyable for people. And then lastly, as I alluded to in my skit, the graphics. They're not great. They're not even, honestly, they're not good. It looks... I wouldn't say a PS2 game. There's some pretty atrocious looking PS2 games, but I would say it looks a lot like a 3DS game without the fact that it is on a 3DS. So like that charm and that forgiveness that you're going to give a 3DS, you're not going to have it on the Switch. The animations are pretty good. They give a lot of life to these characters. I think they've gone in and done a good job with that. But yes, the graphics suck, and even after getting something like Arceus, where it's a bit better and, it has more of a stylistic approach, I think they could have stylized the hell out of this and made it really, really cool. Imagine like a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX art style or something in here. People might not like that, but at least it'd mix it up, it'd be something new, it'd keep it fresh, and it wouldn't be so just like boring. It feels very corporate as well. It's just boring and there's not a lot special to it, so definitely not my favorite in the art department. I will admit that they could have done much, much better. And like I said, it's really not a great game, but if you have a kid who loves Pokemon and this slower pace would actually be good for them, or they just simply want more from their favorite universe, it really isn't a bad game to get them, especially since the runtime is fairly lengthy, being around 12 hours. It's no Tears of the Kingdom, but there is also a lot more value here than something like Everybody's 1-2 Switch. Overall, I'm going to give Detective Pikachu a very run-in-the-mill 5 out of 10. It's super average. Average gameplay, below average graphics, like a decent-ish story and charming characters. So, that's my take on it. What is yours? Are you going to pick this up? Do you think it's a game worth getting? I don't know. I would argue probably not. But hey, maybe I'm super off base with this. I don't know. I think a 5 out of 10 is very fair for this game. It doesn't do anything offensive, but it also doesn't do anything worthwhile. It's very middle of the road. Check it out if you want. Also, check out this video. It's a banger. It's a vibe. Say it with me. I know you know it. Good time. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Click it.